Have you ever felt the weight of having to prove yourself, speaking louder just to be seen, yet somehow feeling smaller? In a world addicted to noise, true strength hides in stillness. The Stoics understood that power isn't in domination, but in self-command, because the quiet mind sees what chaos never will. Stay with me. This might change how you move through the world. As we step into the first chapter, imagine this. You walk into a room where every voice is fighting to be heard. Voices crash and overlap, each desperate to rise above the rest, yet all sink into the same noise. And yet, somewhere in that noise, there is someone who doesn't compete. He doesn't rush to speak. He watches, he listens, he waits. While the rest battle to be seen, he studies everything in silence, and by the time he finally moves, the outcome is already his. This is the quietest power you can ever possess, the discipline to observe more than you speak. In a world obsessed with attention, noise has become the currency of the insecure. Everyone is desperate to prove they exist, but the Stoic knows better. He understands that power isn't found in the volume of your voice, but in the depth of your vision. The world shouts to be noticed. The wise man stays silent to see. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." The one who speaks less and sees more learns to control not only his tongue, but his mind. Silence becomes his shield. Observation becomes his blade. Most people speak to be understood. They fill the air with explanations, excuses, and declarations, each word a desperate attempt to shape how others perceive them. But the Stoic listens to understand. He seeks truth, not attention, reality, not illusion. And in doing so, he earns an advantage no amount of noise can buy, because when people speak, they reveal themselves. Their fears hide in their tone, their desires leak through their stories, their weaknesses sit quietly between their words. All you have to do is wait. Seneca once said, "If you wish to be loved, love. If you wish to be wise, listen." To listen deeply is to see clearly. It's to understand not just what is being said, but what is being avoided. The one who observes gains access to a map no one else sees, a map of motives, patterns, and truths buried beneath performance. Now, imagine a meeting, a negotiation, or a simple conversation. Everyone is trying to dominate the air, to prove their brilliance, to win the room. And then there's one man, silent but alive. He sits calm, steady, unbothered by the chaos. He doesn't interrupt. He doesn't fidget. He listens to the voices, but more importantly, he listens to the pauses between them. He watches alliances form, tension rise, fear ripple through certain tones. And when he finally speaks, the room shifts. Because he doesn't speak to be heard, he speaks to be felt. His words cut through confusion like a blade through fog. He leaves the room without needing validation, and yet, somehow, he's the only one they remember. That is what happens when you master the art of silence. Your presence grows louder than any words could ever be. Silence isn't emptiness, it's precision. It's not weakness, it's control. It strips away the need to impress and makes room for clarity. It is a discipline, not a defect. When you stop speaking to prove your worth, you begin to understand others and, more importantly, yourself. Because in silence, you begin to notice what truly drives you. You see where your ego reacts before your reason. You catch the lies you tell yourself in the rush to appear strong. You learn to pause before responding, to ask, what is really being said here? What is motivating this person? What truth hides beneath the noise? These questions sharpen you. They turn you from a reactor into an observer, from a participant in chaos into its quiet master. Observation is not passivity. It is strategy. To watch without judgment, to hold your energy until it's needed, to know when to strike and when to stay still. The Stoics practiced this as an art. They called it self-governance, the power to master one's impulses and control one's timing. Because timing, not talking, decides the outcome of most things in life. Picture a swordsman in battle. The impatient one swings wildly, burning energy and exposing weakness. The master stands poised, motionless, watching. He studies patterns, breath, rhythm. And when the right moment comes, a single movement ends it all. Words are no different. Speak rarely. Speak with precision. Speak only when your words improve upon silence. That's not fear, that's strength. And when you begin to live this way, something changes. You stop needing to react to every challenge. You stop feeling the urge to defend every opinion. You stop being pulled into drama, noise, and distraction. Because when you control your tongue, you control your peace. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Let them underestimate your silence. Let them misread your calm. It doesn't matter. Because while they're busy talking, you're gathering information. While they rush to be seen, you're learning how everything works. When the time comes, you'll act with clarity while they drown in their noise. In a world obsessed with exposure, mystery becomes power. When you observe more than you speak, you become unpredictable. People can't measure you. They can't use your words against you because you've learned not to hand them ammunition. You hold strategic depth. You have more dimensions than they can see. But the real transformation isn't how others perceive you. It's how you perceive yourself. When you no longer chase recognition, you begin to chase truth. When you no longer need to be understood, you finally understand. Observation turns inward. You begin to notice your own mind, the patterns of your reactions, the roots of your emotions. You begin to see the world as it is, not as your ego wants it to be. The Stoics believed this is where real freedom begins, not in conquering the external world, but in conquering your response to it. They practiced restraint not to appear wise, but to become wise. They understood that words are easy, but discipline is rare. That silence is the forge where character is shaped. At first, it feels unnatural, sitting quietly while others rush to speak, letting a conversation pass without asserting your dominance, holding back when your pride aches to prove itself. But that's the battle every Stoic fights within, the war between impulse and intention. Each moment you resist the urge to fill the silence, you grow stronger. You trade reaction for control, noise for understanding, and slowly you'll notice the shift. The storms around you will lose their pull. You'll begin to move differently, think differently, speak differently. You'll carry yourself with a kind of calm that unsettles people, because calmness is the rarest form of confidence. The one who observes more than he speaks walks through life like an architect of invisible structures, shaping outcomes without needing credit, influencing people without needing to dominate them, winning battles without ever raising his voice. At the end of the day, those who see clearly outlast those who speak loudly. The talkers burn out in their own noise. The observer endures, quiet, patient, relentless. So, the next time you find yourself in a crowd, remember this. You don't need to speak to prove your presence. You don't need to fight for space in the noise. Sit still, watch deeply, listen beyond words. Let others reveal themselves, and when the time comes, let your few words land with the weight of mountains. Because real power doesn't need to shout. It simply stands, silent and sure, seeing what others miss. And from that silence, your silence, you begin to master not just the world around you, but the one within. Now, moving forward from this stillness, we enter the next truth of Stoic strength, the art of letting your actions speak louder than anything you could ever say. Moving into the second chapter, imagine this. You're surrounded by people who can't stop announcing what they're going to do. Every goal, every plan, every half-finished victory becomes a declaration. Their words echo louder than their actions, filling the air with noise. But when you watch closely, you notice something. The ones who talk the most often achieve the least. The ones who move quietly, who build without the need to be seen, eventually become the ones everyone notices. Not because they demanded attention, but because they earned it. In a world obsessed with self-promotion, silence has become rebellion. The Stoics understood this long before the modern world turned validation into currency. Seneca said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." Words fade, applause ends. But action, steady, disciplined, silent action, leaves a mark that cannot be erased. The loudest voice in the room rarely holds the deepest power. The quiet worker does. The one who doesn't talk about what he'll do, but simply does it. True mastery never shouts. It whispers through consistency. It doesn't need attention because its strength lies in what no one sees. The Stoic works in the dark, like a craftsman carving stone. Not for applause, not for recognition, but because the act itself refines him. He moves through the world quietly, his focus sharp, his discipline absolute. He knows that greatness is not declared, it's demonstrated. There's an old saying, wolves don't announce their presence. Their presence is felt. Their power is known without a word. That's how a Stoic moves through life. He doesn't need to tell anyone what he's becoming. He lets his transformation speak for itself. His excellence announces him long after he's gone. His discipline leaves a trail for others to follow. His results arrive before his words ever do. But don't mistake this silence for hiding. This isn't retreat, it's control. It's about building something so real, so undeniable, that when it appears, it needs no introduction. When you live this way, you take your energy back. Every time you talk about your plans, you leak a little bit of your power into the world. You feed expectation. You open the door for judgment. You invite distraction. The Stoic knows better. He guards his intentions like a soldier guarding his fortress, because he understands ambition, when spoken too soon, weakens its force. Now imagine two people beginning their journey towards strength. The first one talks constantly about his goals. He posts updates, announces every small step, explains how hard he's working. The other one says nothing. He shows up day after day. No noise, no witnesses. Months pass, and when the results appear, they speak louder than the other's words ever could. The first sought approval. The second found mastery. The quiet one always wins in the long run because his validation comes from within, not from the crowd. When you keep your work silent, something shifts inside you. You begin to care less about recognition and more about refinement. You no longer seek encouragement because discipline itself becomes your companion. Each small act of effort becomes its own reward. This is the foundation of freedom. The kind of freedom no applause can give and no criticism can take away. Seneca once said, "The man who is content to be what he is has reached the height of wisdom." That is the essence of silent action. When you work quietly, you stop chasing the illusion of being seen. You start chasing excellence instead. You realize that the only competition worth having is with your former self. Every day, a little stronger. Every task, a little sharper. Every setback, another layer of resilience. The world doesn't see the hours you spend in solitude. The mornings you rise before dawn. The nights you stay up honing your craft, and it doesn't need to, because when the results come, they will reveal everything you've built in private. The Stoic satisfaction isn't in being noticed, it's in being unshakable. His reward is not praise, it's peace. I once knew a craftsman who lived by this truth. He was an old carpenter, hands rough, voice quiet, eyes clear. While others in his trade shouted about their skill, flashing advertisements and promises, he just worked. Every table, every chair, every piece of wood that passed through his hands carried something unspoken: precision, patience, integrity. People began to travel from far away, not because he promoted himself, but because his work did. When asked about his success, he smiled and said, "Good work needs no advertisement." That single line held more wisdom than 1,000 speeches. His calm was contagious. His silence was strength. He had no need to prove anything because his work had already done it for him. That is Stoicism in its purest form, unhurried, grounded, self-contained. The world eventually bends to those who move this way, not because they chase it, but because they outlast it. There is power in doing things quietly. When you stop explaining, you start building. When you stop announcing, you start progressing. When you stop performing, you start becoming. That is how mastery grows, not through noise, but through momentum. Each quiet morning when no one is watching, you shape the person you're becoming. Each unseen act of effort becomes a brick in the structure of your destiny. You don't need a spotlight to build an empire. You just need persistence, quiet, consistent persistence. And here's what the world doesn't understand. Silence unnerves people. It unsettles those who depend on external validation. They can't measure you, can't predict you, can't compete with what they can't see. They talk louder to drown their own insecurity, while you move forward unseen. You don't need to explain, you don't need to defend, you just need to continue. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." That is the Stoic's creed. Say nothing, do everything, build quietly until the evidence can't be ignored. Because when your work speaks for itself, even your silence becomes a statement. And perhaps the most powerful transformation happens within. When you learn to let action speak, you begin to detach from the need for approval. You stop performing for others and start performing for your own conscience. Your validation comes from knowing you've done what needed to be done. You sleep deeply, not because the world claps for you, but because your effort was honest. So set your goals silently. Chase them ruthlessly. Let your discipline be your voice. Don't talk about what you're going to do, become it. While others seek attention, you seek mastery. While they seek applause, you seek peace. And if no one notices at first, let them wonder. Let them ask where you've been. Let them see the results before they ever hear the story. Because real power doesn't shout. It moves quietly, leaves a deep mark, and never needs to explain itself. Your life becomes your argument. Your consistency becomes your proof. Your stillness becomes your power. And as you continue walking this path, remember, the quiet builder always stands longer than the noisy dreamer. The river that carves the mountain does not announce itself. It simply flows. Patiently, relentlessly, until the stone yields. That is how a Stoic wins. Not by noise, by presence, not by declarations, by demonstration. Now, from this silence, we move forward to the next principle of mastery, the one that frees you from everything you cannot control, the art of letting go, the weapon of detachment. Advancing to the third chapter, imagine standing in the middle of a storm, not the kind that tears through cities, but the kind that lives inside people. You can see it in their eyes, hear it in their voices, feel it in the way they chase everything and everyone just to feel safe. They cling to outcomes, to approval, to control. They tremble at the idea of losing what they think defines them. But the Stoic walks differently, calm, still, untouched, because he has learned one of the rarest and most misunderstood forms of power, the art of emotional detachment. Most people think detachment means not caring. They're wrong. Detachment is not indifference, it's inner command. It's what happens when you stop being ruled by things you cannot control, when you stop allowing external storms to dictate your internal weather. The Stoics' secret weapon isn't domination, it's discipline. It's not the control of others, it's mastery of the self. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That is the foundation of detachment. To understand where your control ends and your peace begins. To know that outcomes, praise, failure, fortune, all of them belong to the outside world. What belongs to you are your actions, your attitude, and your response. Everything else is just noise. In a world chained to validation, detachment is rebellion. People want to win, to be liked, to be seen. They live at the mercy of approval, and the moment you need something too much, recognition, affection, applause, you become predictable. You become easy to control. Insult them, and they react. Praise them, and they melt. Challenge them, and they break. They are leaves in the wind, moved by every gust of opinion. But the Stoic is different. He stands like a mountain. He welcomes the wind, but does not chase it. His peace is not built on outcomes, but on effort. Not on recognition, but on reason. He doesn't attach himself to results because he knows they are never fully his to command. He focuses on what is. The rest, fortune, reputation, judgment, is merely weather passing through. At the heart of this philosophy lies amor fati, the love of fate. To not just endure what happens, but to embrace it as necessary, to see victory and defeat, praise and criticism, not as opposites to cling to or avoid, but as threads of the same tapestry. The Stoic doesn't wish for life to go his way. He learns to want whatever life gives, because he knows real freedom is not getting what you want, it's not needing it. Now picture two warriors preparing for battle. One is consumed by outcome. His mind races. What if he fails? What if he dies? What if he disappoints those who expect victory? He trembles beneath the weight of imagined losses. The other warrior, calm as still water, focuses only on what he can control. His stance, his blade, his courage. He knows the outcome is not his to decide. His duty is to fight with honor, to give everything, to accept whatever follows with grace. When the battle begins, which one fights with more power? Always the one who has nothing to lose. Detachment grants him clarity. It makes him free. And freedom, true freedom, is terrifying to those still chained to fear. This isn't just about warriors. It's about you. It's about every student who studies only for applause and crumbles when failure arrives. Every leader who seeks praise and collapses under criticism. Every lover who clings so tightly they suffocate what they love. The tighter you grip, the weaker you become. The more you chase control, the less of it you truly have. I once knew a young builder who lived by a Stoic code without realizing it. While others in his field obsessed over followers, funding, and fame, he focused on his craft. He built with care, with patience, with quiet discipline. Some years brought success, others brought loss, but he was steady. People respected him not for his words, but for his consistency. His calm, unnerved competitors. Investors trusted him because his mood didn't change with the market. He wasn't careless, he was free. His detachment made him dangerous in the best way possible. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." And that's what detachment is, bravery in its purest form. The courage to give your best while releasing the need to control the outcome. It's caring deeply about your actions, your virtue, your honesty, but not about the applause that may or may not come after. Every hardship becomes training. Every insult becomes practice. Every failure becomes refinement. Because when you stop resisting life, life starts shaping you. The Stoic doesn't fight against events, he uses them. The more he loses, the less there is to fear losing. The more he endures, the less there is that can break him. So, how do you cultivate this power? Begin with clarity. Every day, remind yourself of what belongs to you and what doesn't. Your thoughts, yours. Your actions, yours. The opinions of others, not yours. The results of your effort, not yours. The weather, the outcome, the judgment, never yours. And if it's not yours, it has no right to control your peace. At night, reflect. Ask yourself, did I live by my principles today? Did I act with virtue, regardless of what happened? If yes, then you've already won. Because victory for the Stoic is measured not by trophies, but by tranquility. When insulted, do not retaliate. Indifference confuses the petty and disarms the cruel. When challenged, don't rush to defend your ego. Defend your values instead. When praised, accept it with humility, but never let it define you. You are not your success any more than you are your failure. You are your effort. You are your character. That is the only thing that truly belongs to you. Epictetus taught that we cannot choose our circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. That's detachment in motion, not coldness, but control. It is the art of remaining whole in a world that keeps trying to pull you apart. And here lies the quiet irony. When you stop needing validation, you become more respected. When you stop fearing failure, you become unstoppable. When you stop depending on outcomes, you finally start living. Detachment doesn't make you less human, it makes you more complete. There's a calmness that comes from this practice, a kind of power that others can't quite understand. It unsettles them. They don't know how to read someone who isn't emotionally tied to their reactions. While they swing between fear and pride, you stay centered. While they chase the highs and avoid the lows, you move straight through them. That calmness, that steadiness becomes your armor. Because the man who expects nothing cannot be disappointed. The one who fears nothing cannot be manipulated, and the one who needs nothing cannot be broken. Detachment doesn't kill passion, it refines it. It's caring without craving, acting without attachment, loving without losing yourself. When you live this way, something beautiful happens. You begin to see life as it truly is, a series of moments asking only for your best, not your obsession. You stop asking, will this make me win? And start asking, did I act with integrity? That shift changes everything. So remember this, to outsmart the world, you must first outsmart your own desires. To master others, you must first master yourself. And the one who has learned to stand calm amid chaos, who has made peace with both gain and loss, he is the one no one can outthink, outplay, or outlast, because he has already won where it matters most, within himself. Now, from this quiet victory, we move to the final step, the building of something unshakable, the fortress that all Stoic power rests upon, the character that no storm can break. Entering the final chapter, imagine a mountain at dusk. The wind howls, the world trembles, yet the mountain stands still, silent, unmoved, unbroken. That is what it means to build unshakable character, the quietest and most devastating way to outsmart the world. In an age where people bend under pressure, trade loyalties for comfort, and collapse at the first sign of difficulty, the Stoic stands like that mountain, steady, rooted in virtue. To truly master life is not about outsmarting others. It's about mastering yourself so deeply that your calm becomes a rebellion against chaos. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Character is not declared, it's built, not in applause, but in solitude. It's forged in small, unseen choices that no one praises, rising early, doing what's right, practicing restraint. When things fall apart, when the world turns its back, that's when your true nature appears. If you've built yourself well, you won't need to search for strength. You'll already have it. Building this kind of character doesn't happen by accident. It's deliberate, daily work, reading wisdom that sharpens the mind, reflecting honestly without excuses, choosing patience when anger feels easier, integrity when shortcuts tempt you, embracing silence not as emptiness but as training for independence. The Stoic learns to stand alone, not because he enjoys isolation, but because solitude teaches self-sufficiency. The world asks very little of you. Follow trends, seek comfort, avoid pain. But the Stoic asks for more: discipline, wisdom, courage, justice. He doesn't aim to be praised, but to be worthy of his own respect. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do." The Stoic lives by this. He demands excellence from himself, even when no one notices. And, ironically, the more quietly he lives by virtue, the more powerfully his presence is felt. Some will admire it, some will resent it, but all will feel it. Imagine a sailor in a violent storm. Others panic, shouting orders to the sea, but he remains calm. He can't stop the wind or calm the waves, but he can master his sails, his rudder, and his mind. His survival depends not on controlling the storm, but on controlling himself within it. That is life. That is character. I once met a man who embodied this. He had faced deep loss. His business failed. His friends betrayed him. Illness struck. But each morning he rose early, read philosophy, wrote down his intentions, and treated everyone with respect. When asked how he endured, he said, "Life trains those it loves. No drama, no bitterness, just quiet strength." Over time, even those who mocked him came to respect him, not because he asked for it, but because true character eventually commands it. To outsmart the world without stress, build this kind of foundation, not for recognition, but because it's the only thing that won't crumble when life tests you, and life will test you. The Stoics knew that pain is not punishment, it's practice. Every loss is training, every failure refines you, every hardship hardens your spirit. When everything is stripped away, your wealth, your image, your comfort, what remains is who you are. That is the fortress no storm can breach. The work is not glamorous. It's lonely. It requires walking away from shallow approval, from distraction, from the easy path. It means being your own critic and your own ally, working quietly in the dark, trusting that the light will reveal your effort when the time is right. Every page you read when you could have wasted time, every moment of reflection when others drowned in noise, every time you chose patience over anger, endurance over surrender, you laid another stone in the fortress of your character. And one day, without forcing, your strength will speak for itself. Your calm will unsettle people. Your consistency will confuse them, because while they chase attention, you'll move with purpose. While they crumble under emotion, you'll remain centered. And while they fight for validation, you'll already have peace. You'll outlast the boastful. You'll outgrow the shallow. Because while they were chasing illusions, you were becoming real. Seneca said, "Fire tests gold. Adversity tests brave men. Life will burn you, but only to shape you. Every trial refines your edges. Every setback polishes your core. What's left is solid. What's left is true." At the end of the day, the strongest move you can make in a chaotic world is not to conquer others, but to conquer yourself. Build a character so rooted that no praise can inflate it, no insult can wound it, no loss can destroy it. Be the mountain. Let the storms rage and fade. The world always respects what it cannot move. When everything else breaks, you will remain calm, grounded, whole. That is how you outsmart the world, not with noise or tactics, but with the silent, unshakable power of a character forged in discipline and built to endure. Remember this: you never need to be the loudest voice in the room to be the strongest presence. True mastery isn't about how much attention you can command, but about how little you need it. Real power moves quietly, with patience, with restraint, with calm precision. In a world that constantly shouts for approval and applause, the Stoic rises above by mastering himself, his thoughts, and his actions. The greatest victories happen not in the spotlight, but in silence, deep within. Outsmarting everyone quietly is not about hiding or deceiving. It is about living with such clarity, discipline, and inner strength that the world naturally adjusts to your stillness. When you live this way, something profound begins to happen. You stop chasing validation and start radiating quiet confidence. You stop explaining your worth and begin embodying it. You stop reacting and start responding with purpose. Your work, your consistency, and your peace become your message. Your presence becomes your proof. Every silent act of discipline becomes a signal of strength. Every moment of calm becomes a declaration of power. The Stoics taught that restraint is not weakness, but wisdom, that patience is not passivity, but precision, and that virtue, lived quietly, becomes the loudest force in any room. You do not need to prove who you are. You only need to become it. If this message resonated with you, stay with this journey. Subscribe for more lessons that strengthen your calm, sharpen your focus, and remind you of the strength that lives in silence. And in the comments, write "quiet power" to let me know you walk this path too. Stay grounded, stay unseen. Let your silence build something unshakable. In the next video, we will go deeper into the Stoic art of calm control and how it turns even chaos into clarity. Your strength is growing, quietly, right where it matters most.